Hey, it's good to see you. Thank you for clicking on the link. This little reflection is from our church newsletter, which goes out every week. And the reflection this week is entitled A Stranger in a Strange Land. There's something interesting that stands out a lot in the Old Testament stories, and it's that of the stranger in a strange land. If you think of people like Joseph in Egypt or Daniel in Babylon, with the three young men, and even to a degree Jacob in the house of his father-in-law. In each of these cases, the stranger is seen to be faithful to God, despite all the incentives to do otherwise. And they're seen by those around them as being uniquely blessed by God. And when you look at the lives of those around them who are kind to these strangers, they'll end up being uniquely blessed as well. If you look at Jesus, I think he's the quintessential stranger in a strange land. The Bible tells us in John 11 verse 4 that he came to his own and his own did not receive him. Human sin had made our planet strange to God. And yet Jesus was faithful at every moment to his Father. And the people around him found themselves blessed. The blind could see. The lame could walk. People were even brought back to life after dying. Beautiful, beautiful. Today we live in a world, in my view, which is increasingly at odds with itself. It seems that anyone who dares to suggest that they love their country, or anyone who would say that they don't wish to see history being rewritten, or a person who would say, how can I be guilty of actions taken centuries ago? Or if I claim to be, who I am, a heterosexual, or, I drive a car with a petrol engine, it seems to me that anyone who dares to even suggest these things is fair game for these self-righteous protest groups who claim the right to disrupt civic, peaceable life, regardless of the misery that they cause. Forgive me for my rant, but I find myself a stranger in a strange land. As a pastor, the story of God, which is found in Scripture, is a story more difficult to tell in a land that does not want to hear. The character of God, the commands of God, the priorities of God, and devotion to God is so often met with amusement and disinterest. So how do I live as a faithful Christian in a strange land? Well, I must remember Zion. And what I'm talking about there is that I must remember the church, what it is and how it is, its shape and life. Daniel, who was estranged from the normative life of a Jew in Jerusalem, became a faithful Jew in Babylon. Like his friends, the three young men, he faithfully turned his face towards Jerusalem, and he prayed 3 times a day. And so in the same manner, I must turn my face to God and pray. And I must do this faithfully, particularly because the land outside is strange. And in addition, and of vital importance, I must pay attention to gathering with the church when we gather, because it's in the assembling of ourselves that we are fed by grace. It's in the assembling of ourselves that we manifest who and what we are by the goodness of God. As the author of Hebrews says in Hebrews chapter 10, let us hold unswervingly to the hope we profess, for he who promised is faithful. And let us consider how we might spur one another on toward love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together, as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching. God honored Daniel. Those 3 young men, Jacob and Joseph, God honored them. And he will honor the church as well as we strive to remain faithful strangers. Now, none of this is to suggest that the church should not be open to inquirers, or that the church should exist as some kind of little enclave. The nature of our situation compels us to keep telling the gospel story, to love our broken world without conforming to its ways. And after all, it's not unlike God to place someone as a stranger in a strange land. He's done it before. And so we should not get frustrated with his providence, but trust that we were born for such a time as this. And so may the faithful God keep us faithful and strengthen us precisely when we need strength. May you be blessed today. See you soon.